Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. How's it going?
Not bad, man. Gorgeous weather in Minnesota. Can't complain. We were in the 80s yesterday. Looking forward to today's show. And yeah, I got a bunch of travel planned too. So looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah, we do not have gorgeous weather down here. My power's out, actually. I just got a notification. But we're all clear at the office, so there shouldn't be any interruptions during the show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your guys' office in October. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're mid-move right now. There's movers outside of my office. And then all my stuff's off the walls. Computers are gone.
No jersey.
Yeah, well, the jersey's on the ground. You can kind of see it over there.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, we should be fully in there. I mean, we'll be in there by Monday. I don't know how many days, if we'll go through the weekend, the actual move. But yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, shout out to our sponsors. As always, Multi-Service Fuel Card, been around for, longer than Will and I have been alive. Great discounts to drivers. Great company. Black Box, Will's company, Trio Inc. Obviously, they do all of our back end. Great people. HD Ships, where I recruit agents for. Sales Dash CRM, if you want to speak on that one, Will. I mean, obviously, I'm a good friend of Josh's, but you're an actual customer of theirs now. So.
Yeah, we're also customers of Trio offshore support. We've got a few of their people in support roles. They do great work. But Sales Dash is a freight-centric CRM. So we actually moved over to it about 3 months ago, and all my people love it. If you are in the market for a CRM or you're looking for one pre-built, it's definitely the best option. Josh came from a freight background, so he knows like what you need, right? It's pre-built. It's very clean, intuitive. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, and then our banner sponsor, Tafts.
Brought to you by Tafts. Yeah, so episode 25. I'm really pumped about this one. We've got Michal. He is the head of global land transportation for Ikea. He's got, over 3 decades of experience in the transportation space. So, tons of insight and experience to learn from today.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I mean, we don't get someone from that big of a company, in charge of U.S. freight and other continent freights. And yeah, it should be really fun talking to him. Got a wealth of, he's been at Ikea for longer than you and I have been alive, which is wild, the amount of experience and changes he's seen with technology. So it's gonna be really fun.
Yeah, it's also a great company. I've got lots of Ikea furniture. So let's go ahead and bring them on out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi, Michal, how are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for having me here with you. It sounds horrible when you say that I've been around in the company longer than you have been alive in the world. So, anyway, that's what it is sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing. I'm sure that, you have probably learned and seen all kinds of stuff, especially being in transportation for that long. It
has not been only transportation. It's been supply chains, but let's say half of the time I spent in transportation. So that's the background I have.
Well, let's back it up a little bit. How did you get involved in the supply chain transportation? You've been with IKEA for 33 years. How did you get into that with that company? How did that come about?
You can say it was a very interesting time in Eastern Europe. I'm from the Czech Republic, or former Czechoslovakia, and that was a time at the beginning of 90s when I joined IKEA. It was straight after the political turnover in the Eastern Europe. I did my military service, and I was looking for what I should do in my life, because suddenly, with originally very few opportunities, there was so many opportunities that we didn't know what to do with them. So IKEA was one of the companies entering Eastern Europe at the time. So that was a choice I made, and I have not been regretting for 33 years. So this is a little bit how I got to that. But I have been going through procurement in many countries from Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, in Poland, in South America, in Brazil, Argentina. And when it comes to logistics and transportation, I have been now for the last 9 years holding the position of the global head of global and transportation for IKEA, which basically means it's equal to something like 1.5 million full truckloads per year, 1.2 billion spent, 80 million cubic meters, and something like 100 people around the world I'm working with. So that is a little bit how I got there where I am now.
How much different knowledge do you have to have? Because you're dealing with, stuff in Europe, but you're also, correct me if I'm wrong, dealing with US truckloads as well. So obviously, every continent, every country is, different. You have to, know a lot more than just like, a standard US transportation manager would.
And you can say like this, you're right. You're right, Matt. It's different, but at the same time, it's very much the same, because it is about movement, it is about people, it's about equipment, and it's about money. The challenges are very, very similar all over. How they are tackled, that's maybe another perspective. How we do it is that I have 9 teams around the whole globe, 3 of them in Asia Pacific, 1 in the US, in King of Prussia, and 5 teams in Europe. And that means that basically we sit very close to the local or regional markets, and we are getting the information about the development, meeting the local partners actually straight on spot. That is how we are actually collecting the information and knowledge which we need to have to be able to effectively execute the job which we have, which means basically to secure and develop the transport capacities for Ikea to move the goods from the production to our customers.
Well, I will say, you coming on and saying that you handle that many truckloads, you will likely get many messages from our audience. A lot of them are freight brokers or truck providers. And we've got a comment from Joshua here. Joshua, we appreciate you tuning in. It says, Michal, load your freight into German trucks. I'm sure that's the company he's with. Your inbox will probably be flooded post you saying that you handle that many truckloads.
Yeah, you can. Maybe I should add one more thing. When we speak about those truckloads, we have 70% of that approximately in Europe, and then the rest is split into Asia Pacific and mainly US, a bit of Canada as well, a bit of Mexico, but mainly US. What I should say as well, which might be interesting for the audience, is that we have more than half of ton kilometers already intermodal. So we already moved, so to say, half of ton kilometers away from roads, mainly to rail. That is valid specifically for Europe and China. In Asia Pacific, we also have quite some inland waterways. US is trucking today. Yeah. So it's also, I say, 1.5 million full truckloads, but you can say, if I convert it to shipments, you can say that 40% or 35% of those are already on rail, on trains and short sea vessels, principally.
Are those more common in Europe? It sounds like their intermodal is bigger in Europe. It's obviously a thing in the US and it's popular, but would you say it sounds like you guys are utilizing intermodal more in Europe than you are in the States and Canada, Mexico?
Yeah, you can say like that. The idea of intermodal transportation in Europe is built in a little bit different way than in the US, because you can say US, Canada, historically the main reasons for building the railways was from ports to inland. To actually carry the containers, or carry the loads from containers from the 70s, but before, to carry the loads from the ports inland into the country. Europe has been actually also building railways to connect the different countries. Yeah, US, it's one country. Europe is 30 plus countries. So those connections have been built for the passenger trains, but have started being using in the 70s, 80s, also for the freight transportation. So there is a bit different historical development when it comes to Europe and US or North America, and that gives a little bit advantage to the situation for us in Europe, where we have more opportunities to actually move the things to the rail. The same actually is now in some of Asian countries, specifically China. Yeah, so it is a little bit different history. And if I look into the intermodal transportation, we don't call too much intermodal. The movement of the containers, the dray business, we don't call too much intermodal, because that is principally the bringing the containers to the DCs, to the distribution centers inland in the US. But when we move stuff, for example, from Mexico to the US or to Canada, then of course we use as much as possible intermodal, because it's collective transportation. It is it's not so much about the cost, it's about emissions, it's about safety, it's about supply chain security, and many other advantages that intermodal transportation has. But US and Canada are built for trucking today. That is at least our perception which we have. While Europe might be going a little bit more towards intermodal. Still, I'm saying we have in Europe 56% of ton kilometers, but 70-75% of all movements in Europe are in trucks anyway.
I noticed you mentioned security there. So is fraud and theft and double brokering as big of a concern in Europe as it is for US? I know you said US, you're doing mainly truckloads, in Europe, for the reasons you mentioned.
You can say the challenges are partly the same and partly different. First of all, there are all over the requirements like CPPET and AEO are valid. For all the international movements, we have those requirements, be it Europe, be it Asia, be it North America. So when it comes to having a system, ensuring that you have a systematic approach to supply chain security, that's nothing special. That is the same everywhere. What happens in Europe more than in the US today is that it's not only Ikea flows, it's all over Europe, is the clandestine people in the trucks together with the loads. Because the European equipment is very often tarpaulin trucks, where you can basically cut the roof or cut the side and enter, so to say, into the sealed unit. So that is, so to say, something which is today, due to situation in Africa, due to situation in Asia, quite frequent topic. You have heard, is that in the last couple of years, you might have heard about Calais, France, and people trying to flee to the United Kingdom and so on. So that is what is in Europe. It's less about drugs and this kind of stuff. So the supply chain security in Europe is mainly related to making sure that the people that actually this is avoided as much as possible. Then there is specific situation Mexico towards the US. That I think the audience knows much better than I. It's a daily stuff which need to be taken care of.
What are kind of your biggest, what would you say your biggest challenges are, right now, kind of, overall? Obviously you have teams all over and you're in charge of, the US, of Europe. What are some of the kind of biggest challenges that are, presenting itself in, 2024 for you?
You can say the challenges come from the fact that the times of plenty are gone. COVID times showed us that, it's not anymore just in time, anytime, anywhere, in whatever quantity, you just whistle and the trucks are coming. It's not the case. It's not the case anywhere in the world. It is the lack of drivers. It has been the companies who left the market. The transport cycle started following much more the economical cycle in Europe, in the US, and so on. So you can say that the challenge which we have is principally the availability of the transport capacity at the time when we would need it. It's there, but not necessarily on the right day. And again, I think the audience knows that very, very well. Because once the capacity is actually matching the need, then planning starts to be a very important thing. Forecasting and planning, and I think that's something which we have a challenge, or let's say improvement potential, or also opportunity, depends on how you see it. So I would say that is there, where we are entering. Let's say the peak periods in Europe, it is usually autumn. In US, it is back to school. In China, Asia Pacific, it is Chinese New Year. So it's spread differently all over the Europe, where we start seeing, so to say, the scarcity, or let's say tension when it comes to capacities. But that's a standard thing. It's not so much about anything what other shippers would not have themselves as a daily issue. Our challenge is, and on top of that, is a very strong sustainability agenda which we have at Ikea, because we committed that by 2030 we will cut emissions per shipment by 70% compared to 2017. We are somewhere close to half. There are still things to go. So that is a big challenge, because principally it means either to move to intermodal as much as possible, or to start actually using HVO and this kind of fuels, or electrify the fleet. And it's a debate all over the world, where to find money, where to find enough energy for the electrification of heavy duty transportation and so on. Different countries, different parts of the world are handling that differently with different speed. China has been, due to multiple reasons, in the forefront for already a couple of years. I can say that, for example, all the dray which we have in China, and that's the biggest sending country for us, we have all this dray electrified already, either intermodal on trains, which are electrified, or on electric vehicles. Europe and America and North America, there are things to do. So that's the challenge which we have, but at the same time, it's an excellent business opportunity. Another challenge is, of course, the social agenda we have, how the drivers and people working in the supply chain of Ikea, how they are treated, how their work-life balance looks like, what is the safety on the road, which is also a part of that agenda, because globally you have 1.2 million people dying every year on roads. Yeah, and I'm not counting the people who are injured with life-changing injuries and so on. So this is the challenge, but we take this as an opportunity to drive not only quantitative part of that business, but actually deliver or actually add a qualitative perspective to it as well. Decarbonization, social agenda, digitalization, collaboration, because I personally very much believe in the future collaborative transportation and supply chains. So these are the things where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, you touched on a lot there. Yeah, I think definitely in the United States we have a long way to go when talking about electric vehicles. I mean, they're extremely expensive here, and then if and when you're running an electric tractor, it can't go very far. I mean, the cost to carry is very expensive. The battery is extremely heavy. I believe that they give you a 2,000-pound permit. So U.S. legal gross weight's 80. I think they can take 82, but still. I was talking to a guy last week who purchased 2 of them and was running them for a mutual customer that we have, and he was just running 100-mile trips. He couldn't take it anywhere past that. And then there's not the infrastructure for the chargers. So we have a very long way to go when thinking about electric fleets, at least here. I don't know how it compares elsewhere.
But it's not only US. I think it is, with exception of very few countries, it is the whole world, because it is, as you say very correctly, Bill, it is about infrastructure. It is about the price of the vehicles, of the tractors today. It's about the range. Mm-hmm. And even more, it is about the availability of enough of electric energy, which should be green, because if it's not green, if it's not renewable energy, what does it help? It doesn't help too much. It helps with some percentage, but not so much. But the biggest issue actually connected to that, and that is valid for Europe in the same way like for the US, is it's our comfort zones, because we simply don't want to change the things. We don't want to create preconditions for the carriers who would acquire or buy such equipment, maybe based on long-term agreement with Ikea. We and I say Ikea, but I think it's most of the shippers. We have an issue to say, okay, how can we create preconditions for carrier to run double amount of miles per day than with diesel truck to increase the productivity of the equipment? should we be able to do it? I think the electrification, at least of short distances, will be much simpler. Yeah, because there is a possibility how to offset the cost by increasing the productivity of the equipment and of course of the driver. And naturally, if you would do the same for the diesel truck, it will still be cheaper. But you can sometimes, let's compare small apples and big apples. Still they are apples. That's the topic. Then when it comes to equipment, soon we will see trucks which will be making 300 miles, maybe 400 miles. It will come. The big OEMs are already having this, so to say. They will be available maybe in 2 years. Daimler, Volvo, Peterbilt. I think all that will have that, so it will be there. When you see the massive speed in development of the batteries, which is the fundamental part of the cost of the vehicle, and the weight of it as well, I think we will see a real development in some countries. On top of that, it is more politically driven. In Europe, the decarbonization through electrification has been very much a strong topic for European Union. China, we don't need to debate. US is not taking, so to say, a very clear stance on is it hydrogen, is it batteries, what is it, where we put subsidies, how we make the whole thing rolling. And then, of course, the elections might put this agenda on two different tracks as well. Yeah. So I agree with you. It's difficult. It's a lot of questions, but I have to say, when you take the efficiency of the battery vehicle, where you have 85% efficiency, how the energy is used versus, let's say, hydrogen vehicle, where you have less than 40%, then also the energy which needs to be generated to be able to fuel the equipment is also something which we need to consider.
Yeah, lots of things to consider. It seems like it's becoming more and more relevant. More people are talking about it. In the U.S., some RFQs that we've done, so some bids for customers. There's sections about EVs, electric vehicles. Do you have any plans to use them? So it seems like people are incentivizing that growth, right? And then you got to think, just with any knowledge or progress, right? It compounds. So I'm sure that sooner rather than later we'll see a lot of progress in that direction, and who knows what the future holds with that. I mean, technology, all that stuff.
Yeah, and that is probably the way, because you can say I don't say it is the only way, by the way, because the beauty of logistics and transportation is that there are some trends and there are some counter trends always. It's the beauty of it. So one learns every day. But you can say electricity is probably one of the main, let's say, savers for us for the future. And then if it comes through hydrogen, because that's basically a carrier of the energy, because either you put the energy, where can you put the energy? You put it into the battery, or you put it into the hydrogen so that you can take it back, but then you are losing quite a lot. Yeah. Or you have these power stations where you can actually pump the water up and then use it to generate the energy, again. But that is a waste. You are wasting more than half of the energy, while when it comes to batteries, you don't. Here is very interesting, that when you take solar energy, we have not yet managed to capture that in a proper way, because principally sun is sending to Earth that amount of energy every 40 minutes, the amount of energy that fossil fuels are generated during 1 year. It's amazing. Then you can say like that 1/3 of this is sent back through ionosphere, and because otherwise it would be a little bit too much. Some is used for warming up the ground. Plants need to grow, trees need to grow, but there's so much solar energy which we are not able to utilize today. So once we find a way, and once we find a way how to store it, I think I see that the future actually quite bright. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a refreshing take on it. It all makes sense what you're saying and how you see it. I'll definitely be paying attention and excited to see what happens in the future.
How is that kind of going? We have a lot of salespeople watching, and you're handling transportation. You kind of have gone over some of your challenges that you guys are having in the U.S., Europe, overall. I mean, how does that work? I'm just kind of curious. Are you having sales reps in the U.S. and in China and in Europe, all trying to get your business, both trucking and brokerage, or what kind of inquiries are you getting from sales reps out there?
We basically, it's funny because we don't call them sales reps, we call them actually business developers. So these are the people who actually go out. They are the speaking partners from our side with the carriers, with the service providers, be it carrier, 3PL, forwarder, whatever. And we have been there for quite some time. So we have been actually we were able to build relationships and knowledge about the market and also knowledge about ourselves, which enables us to be in contact with both the right people, which we collaborate with today, but also with the new guys. And you can say maybe it is a little bit different in Europe, where we are really one of the biggest shippers. We are not one of the biggest shippers in the US. We are a medium-sized shipper. We are one of the biggest importers of the containers to the US. I think we are somewhere in the top 5. But when it comes to land transportation, we are not that important or interesting as we are in Europe or in China. So this also plays a little bit role. But you can say already the fact that Ikea is a big shipper attracts a lot of proposals for collaboration and so on. So we have not been having a problem to actually find partners for us in any part of the world so far. And it takes time sometimes to find the right partner, because for transactional business, you can do whatever you want, but the thing is we have quite some requirements related to what we call IWA, code of conduct, one layer of subcontracting, you name it. It's connectivity through EDI or API. So we have quite a lot of requirements which we have, and we are also not simple. We are not a simple partner when it comes to the way we actually distribute our volumes throughout the week. So there is quite some fluctuations. It is consumer goods, not fast moving, but let's say slow moving. Some of them fast moving as well. Consumer goods. So it takes time to build partnerships which deliver both the quantitative part of the profession, where we also have some flexibility, where we have the possibility to work together with the carriers on, for example, this decarbonization topics, or on the topics of new equipment. US is, for example, quite standardized when it comes to equipment. European countries, we say we are also standardized, but they are not that standardized as US. There is now, for example, new legislation in some countries where you can use bigger trailers, or you can use this road trains and so on. So that is what we do together with the carriers, where we have long-term relationship and where we have built the trust. Because if we want them to buy this equipment and use it for us, they need to understand that if they fulfill certain expectations, we will be together in 2-3 years. So our one of the important parts is that we are really trying to build long-term relationship based on trust. That does not mean that we always dance exactly the same song, the same dance, because sometimes there are different opinions and so on. But you can say in Europe and in China, we have managed to build very strong, long-lasting relationships. We have quite some partners in the US as well, where we have strong and long-term relationship. But you can also say like that the US market, due to multiple reasons, behaves in a little bit different way than European market. The US market is much more, from our perspective, seeing it from the global perspective, so much more opportunistic in a positive way, much more volatile. The percentage of owner operators is much bigger than in Europe or in Asia Pacific, and all that makes that the organism, the transport business in US more, let's say, hands-on and permanent talking, permanent, checking. Are we on the same track? Do we still understand each other? The way contracts are handled in different parts of the world is also very different. In some countries, the contract is simply a contract, and it's to be fulfilled whatever happens. Japan is a beautiful, or Germany, Sweden, and then there are countries where basically we have the notice time, and this notice time is used fully, and then the business is over. So it's that the beauty of that is we still speak about tracking, but it's done differently in different parts of the world, and this relationship and partnership is a very interesting arena where basically after 9 years I've seen how different it is.
You brought up a lot of good points. I was kind of curious too, as you brought up EDI and API, and technology is big here right now in the logistics world. It's being talked about a lot about what big shippers are looking for, where the future is. I mean, I know you mentioned EDI and API, but do you worry more about what your brokers have in your transportation providers about their technology, or are you more focused on yours, or what do you kind of look for in terms of technology when it comes to partners?
You can say like that. We do not have any super specific requirements. What we do, we work with standardized solutions like Project 44, 4 kites, and this kind of thing. So there is nothing specific. The point is more that when you take transport industry, for decades it has been actually quite a lot underfinanced. During the last decade, we have seen quite a lot of money coming into digitization, into autonomous tracking, into some things and so on. So suddenly there is a lot of money relatively. There is a lot of solutions, and it is not easy to choose, honestly, because there are so many. And then the good thing is that many of them are really compatible. So you don't do a fatal mistake anymore like you could have done when you were building your legacy systems in the past, and today you don't know what to do with them because they are simply obsolete. So I would say the issue is there more about, still there is a lack of maybe understanding that if we share the data, it's not that we are sharing something with the competition. We are sharing something where everyone can benefit from, because this digitization, most people talk about track and trace, and we know where the load is and so on. That's great, it's fantastic, and that is the starting point. But the next step is, how can we use those data for automatic scheduling and rescheduling, which today is done manually with many shippers all around the world. How can we do that? How can we use those data or this type of data for let's say digitalizing the freight which is available for usage in a public space? Because you still have, and you have platforms like Transporeon. There has been Convoy who has been building some special things and so on. If we are not digitizing and digitalizing our processes, if we don't have the data around the shipments and around trucks or around equipment, we will not be able in the future to actually make the full advantage of, first, let's say, integration of the supply chains, of our own supply chains, but also collaborating throughout the supply chains. So I see, the digital part much more as a next step, or maybe 2 steps ahead, where it will really kick in. And then we don't need to speak about artificial intelligence. We can speak about advanced digital capabilities. Yeah? Let's leave this artificial intelligence somewhere else now. That is where I see the things. There are most of the carriers they have the capabilities. It's more that the smaller carriers are a little bit disqualified, because all that takes money. It takes knowledge. It's not today. The things really become knowledge demanding. Yeah, we are in a knowledge demanding era where everything new you need to learn. You need to learn about how to electrify. You need to learn about your operating frame and how to do it. You need to learn about how to digitalize, and what you want to do with that. Because if you just digitalize that and you don't use the data to its full extent, yeah, then you got something, but not everything what you could. So I think the challenge is a little bit in front of us. Is not that if it is this company or that company, all these companies are able today to put the data together and collaborate. So I'm not so much worried about that. It's more about how fast are we together in business, within industry, building common standardized capabilities to be able to utilize together all this information which is flying around.
Yeah, no, that was well said. I mean, I don't know what Will's thoughts are, but yeah, there was a lot to unpack there, and a lot of kind of gems. I think the automated scheduling, it's interesting to hear that, because I don't want to say the company's raw name, but there's a company in the US right now that's trying to automate scheduling too, because with refrigerated freight, especially with so many different warehouses and appointment times, and I know that's being developed. So it's interesting to hear that that's something that's kind of on your mind as well.
But maybe just to add, because we have a vision a little bit of the future transportation, and the future transportation, among other things, which will be respected by the society as a value creator if it is integrated into the urban ecosystems. It is waste free, and that I think is the biggest issue, that we take away in the future all the bad costs, both in money, in CO2, other emissions, particles, injuries, etc., etc. And that will not be possible to do. I think it will be needed, first of all, because we will need to, at certain moment, we will really need to decarbonize much faster than we have been doing it so far. Because if you take the last 100 years, we have put 40% more of CO2 into the atmosphere, by the way. And these 40% are staying, and they will stay with us, because they will disappear, but in a geological age, not in a human age. Yeah. So we will come to the point that we need to do something much faster. Yeah. Because human beings, we are a little bit, we have our comfort zones. We, don't want to limit ourselves too much, but I'm afraid that here, when it comes to emissions, not only transportation, you can say transportation is freight transportation is maybe 6% of the global emissions. The majority of the emissions today come from energy generation, from agriculture, from construction. Yeah, so it's not transportation. Yeah, or let's say freight transportation, some 6%. But we will need to look into that, because we will need to also see how we are connecting the freight transportation with the passenger transportation, because the movement of goods and people use the same energies, the same infrastructure, the same times, because we have only 24 hours per day. And when you see that, when you basically read that within till 2050, the passenger transportation will double to triple globally. The freight transportation will probably double to triple as well. We have a challenge in front of us, honestly, and that will be about data. It will be about collaboration through the data, creating this digital visibility. If you want, digital twin of how the reality looks like, so that we can do something about it. Today, the biggest, we can say, electrification and emissions. When you look into the biggest issue, which is the global issue, it doesn't matter if it's Europe, if it's China, or or Australia or US or Canada is the underutilization of transportation, is the empty mileage, and it's the waiting times for the drivers. If you would be able to take that away, we save 20% directly. Now, that is average the empty mileage in around the world. So imagine that, what we are doing and how we could, through digital visibility, through digital twin, we would be able probably to take that to half relatively easily. Yeah. Lack of drivers, another thing, global issue, but they drive short distances. The driver has 8 hours shift and drives less than 2 hours. The rest he's waiting. Yeah. So, we have a lot of things we can talk about, autonomous, and we can talk about electric, but majority of the fast or low-hanging fruits are in our comfort zones.
It's interesting you bring that up. That's a big thing talked about in the US right now is, driver waiting times, getting to a facility, being stuck for 10 hours, 12 hours. That's a big topic of conversation, especially here in the US where, rates are very good for shippers right now. Rates are, down for carriers.
Yeah, there's also a big push for driver amenities. Truck parking in the US is really bad. But yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you're an over-the-road driver, you go to a shipper, that might be the only person that you see for the day. So like a lot of times you might go in, the shipper might be rude, disrespectful, just be tough to work with. So if you can find some shippers that are good for the drivers, that it's easier to secure that capacity, right? If it's a preferred shipper, somewhere where they don't want to go
and that
let use the bathroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is a debate which is in the US, but it's the same debate in Europe. It's the same debate in the majority of the Asian countries as well. The same debate is in India. I was part of those discussions now in India, because if you are a truck driver, I don't know, because I said I was driving. I was not a driver of a truck, but I have, what we do. First of all, we talk to the carriers very often. We go for the different checks. I was actually also taking a couple of rides in a truck just to get that feeling of the because it's easy to debate it here from the table in Switzerland, and but these guys, they have tough life. They have tough life, and if you are meeting people who are not behaving properly to you, if you are sitting there like crazy for 3 hours, and you are potentially losing another job. It is a big thing, and it's a big thing for the whole world, in fact, because what we have been looking in Europe the last 10 years, the efficiency of the driver has went down by 30%. So you can say by 30% the waiting times increased. Yeah, and it's not because of queues and traffic jams and so on. It is because of waiting times at loading and unloading. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's trending up. You'd think it'd be going down. I think in the US it is going down. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like there's been a really big push last few years, and people have been doing a better job of getting them in and out. But still, ongoing issue. Probably always will be.
But I think it's good, because the drivers today, for the last couple of years, the drivers have a say. Because if the driver tells the carrier, I don't go to that company because I sit there half day, I cannot go to the toilet, I don't get coffee, nothing, I don't want to simply drive there, the carrier is listening to that in most of the cases. Yeah, because and that also is a signal for the shipper saying, okay, we want to be a shipper of choice, because we don't want to buy own trucks, we don't know what to do with them. Yeah, I'm getting so many questions internally in the company. Why don't we own our trucks? And I said, what should we do with them? Yeah, everything would be just massively more expensive, and we would emit much more emissions than we do today. The carriers are the partners. They are the experts in networking and bringing the cost and emissions down for the whole industry, for the shippers. Yeah. So, and then drivers, today, with all the issues which now people say, but the lack of driver is more or less solved. It's very little. It's 50,000 in the US and so on. Yeah, but the business is down. As soon as the business is up, There will not be suddenly 200,000 or 250,000 drivers who will appear somewhere from the forest and will jump into the trucks. So there will be a lack of 250,000 drivers. Yeah. So the same is for Europe. The same, believe it or not, the same is in the countries like China and India with billion plus population. The people don't want to drive trucks. Yeah. Specifically due to the fact that if they want to drive, they want to drive, they want to go, they want to move, and not to stand. So it is a topic, and it is about actually the overall optimization and let's say, or lack of optimization of the supply chains, because in many situations, transportation is still seen, or carrier is seen as a rubber band. Yeah. Okay. So then they will wait. Yeah, but he could have gone somewhere else, and we would have saved money, etc., etc. So it is a topic, and I think that digitization and digitalization, making all that visible, is one of the ways how to tackle this problem of efficiencies overall.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of unrealized costs from the shipper perspective if and when you are a shipper the drivers don't like to go to. Brokers, carriers will price for that accordingly, right? Or you'll just lose the capacity. I do want to talk about, so you talked about, like drivers, 250,000 less, they're not going to appear anywhere. You mentioned that the U.S. is a little bit more opportunistic almost with the owner-operator small fleet. So it seems like transportation, volatile wherever you go, right? But maybe in the U.S. it's a little bit more extreme or heightened due to the fact that, kind of like you said earlier, it's opportunistic, right? So what we experienced like post-COVID with all the money in the U.S. economy, everybody went out and bought trucks. So you had all these new owner-operators, smaller fleets flooding the market, demand dropped down, a lot of people went out of business. So trucking in the U.S. at least is one of the most just brutal cyclical industries because of that fact, right? When things are good, we overcorrect capacity, we overcorrect as a group, and then we keep correcting, and then it drops off. So it's just it's very up and down. It's never really even. So is that
no.
To other countries, or is
it's very well said, and the reason is, one of the reasons is that the market economy still works in the US much better than in anywhere else in the world, because you can say in Europe you have so much regulation already that many of these market shifts and market powers which go in different directions are distorted. Yeah. Then you have countries like China, India with different kind of planning, and so for me, US, when I'm a little bit, when I see the world around is, so to say, the country where the market forces determine how the things will be, which is easier then, because if it works without distortion, you can predict better and you can prepare better, and then that you will pay more. It because you know that you will pay less a little bit later. So it's more how you are setting your expectations and where transportation sits in your strategic planning and integration of your supply chain. Yeah, and I think again, I truly believe in deep integration of the carrier into the supply chain, because we have been trying to have carriers directly communicate to our suppliers of the home furnishing items without Ikea being in and making some filters and human mistakes in communication and so on. I truly believe that with the right capabilities and with the right dynamic partnerships, dynamic in the respect of what can we do about capacities? Can we agree certain kind of fluctuations? Can you do something for us when it comes to adding on or taking out, and what it means for the dynamic pricing respectively, so that we have a fair price. So there are ways how to do the things much better.
Yes. So what you're talking about, so the transportation companies in the U.S. that are usually more stable with a long time preference, like decades. What we see a lot is if and when the market's up, so spot freight, load board freight is way up, and then the carriers are only taking that. So when it's good, it's really good. But if and when that turns, and then you don't have the kind of like we're talking about with Ikea, with these partnerships, with these long-term relationships where you have a shipper that you can kind of count on. So if things are really expensive, maybe they're not gouging you, right? They're keeping the prices about the same, because if and when things go bad, they can still rely on you for that freight. So companies that do that, they usually do pretty well, but the ones that are just running the spot market roller coaster, it's really good or it's really bad.
Yeah. And this is what you're saying. Well, it's exactly about relationship, and that relationship, and we can debate, AI, and we can debate EDI and API and everything, but this is about the trust which is built among the people.
Yeah.
And this industry, and I've been working, as I said, in Eastern Europe, in South America, with suppliers, with producers of the furniture, now with the cares all over the world. In spite of all this, let's procure electronically and so on. I say all the relationships I have managed to build, or my people managed to build, was based on personal contact. It's not company to company; it's a person to person. And if we have this match, then it is possible to say, okay, sometimes I win a little bit, but I don't screw you.
Yeah.
And you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you behave in the same way. So there you still have some fluctuations, but you do not have this massive, principally spot market, which is US is extreme. US is absolute extreme when it comes to double-digit fluctuations and changes. Yeah,
100%. Well,
that I have not seen anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Herbert says, thanks, Michal, for your clear worldwide picture of challenges and chances to improve. Thanks for tuning in, Herbert.
Thanks, Herbert.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear you talk about that, because that's talked about a lot. The word relationships is thrown out a lot in the U.S. brokerage world. The word AI is thrown around all the time. But it's interesting for you to, say it's still, person to person. It sounds like you guys work more with people than with companies over there.
Yeah, and you can say like that. I sleep in a real bed, not in e-bed. I don't eat e-food. I eat real food. So there is still a physical world, which will not be. It can be, the digital twin can be created and will be created at a certain moment, but we live physical lives. We do not live digital lives. The digital perspective is just a part of our life. So AI and all these kind of things, which it will be, if it is properly handled, it will help us with optimization and with integration of the supply chains to each other. Planning, if you are not willing as a company to plan, to say, dear carrier, I will give you between 2 to 3 trucks every day. I guarantee that to you, but I want you to really be there every day and perform, because you can build your backflows around those. If I am not willing to or able to do it, and I say, it will be 0 or 5 or 3 or maybe again 0 and then 1, and I want you to perform, we will never move anywhere. Because this unplanned part is, and Herbert, which has been now posting the message, we have been having this debate for years. Yeah, we are moving slowly, but very, very slowly, and we are not the only one. So we are part as well of making it very difficult for the carriers to optimize, decarbonize, and bring the prices down. Yeah. So I think there is a lot to do in the supply chains, in integrating the supply chains and end to end. Very sexy word, it's a buzzword. End to end, E to E. You hear that everywhere. But how to do that? How to do that? That I hold you for the ear, you hold me for the nose, and we dance together. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love the way that you see that. You keep mentioning the blend, right? So at least my opinion, right? Technology isn't here to replace people. It's here to optimize efficiencies, right? And if and when you can use technology to, improve human performance, and then we talk about the data and make things make sense, right? Use it strategically rather than to just have it, right? It's very cool. So yeah, I'm very excited about the future and the integrations and what things will look like 5, 10, 20 years from now. So I guess we'll just see. We're at our hour. Michal, thanks so much for joining. I feel like I learned a lot. I thought we could sit here and talk for a few more hours.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of info.
Yeah, that was great.
I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy listening to this episode on Spotify and YouTube. And yeah, it was great.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It was my great pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, well, if you're open to it, we should have you back on at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Michal.
Yeah. Thanks for spending your night with us. We appreciate it.
See ya.
All right.
Wow. I'm not joking when I say this. There's probably 25 different clips we could have in there.
He's sharp. He's very smart.
You can tell. You can tell. I mean, and all the different intricacies. I mean, he's saying that he's handling Europe freight, U.S. freight, China, Mexico. I mean, it sounds to me like he's in charge of. I mean, he's like kind of the head honcho in charge of all types of things, and they're a top 5 importer to the U.S. Just all the things he had to say about technology, automation, relationships. That was really good.
Yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing. I really appreciated his insights and just how he saw things. Right, it was I really enjoyed it. But yeah, that'll do it for episode.
We could do a half-hour breakdown show of that whole thing.
Yeah, we need to see if he'll come back on at some point. I feel like we just scratched the surface with where we could have gone with that. So many different avenues to explore with him, and I feel like he would have so much insight on just about anything. So.
Yeah. Well, I feel like now they came on our podcast, probably every single podcast is going to be messaging him. So
he's going to get blown up. If we say anything about 1.5 million truckloads, his DMs are going to be destroyed.
Yeah. We'll have to title the YouTube and Spotify as 1.2 million truckloads.
Well, yeah, I got to get back to this move. We're about to get out of here. As we wrap up episode 25, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card. We should be having them on the podcast next week. They've been in business forever. Great company. Highly recommend looking.
They're doing that special thing we were going to mention too. Remember they were just promoting, what is it?
Driver Appreciation Week is next week, and they'll have some good stuff going on.
Yeah, Jessica's husband is a truck driver, which is super cool as well.
Yeah, and they're going to be doing some cool stuff for Truck Driver Appreciation Week. We'll have them on the podcast. We'll dive into more of that next week. We've got Black Box Logistics, my company. If you're interested in a W-2 broker role or looking to get in logistics in the Magic City, we're hiring. Trio Inc., they do all of our graphics, back-end stuff. They do offshore staffing. Black Box has a few of their workers. They do a great job. HD Shipping Solutions, if you're interested in being an agent, contact Matt. Very fast-growing company out of Reno, Nevada. I keep hearing about HD Ships, not just from you, Matt. I keep seeing y'all stuff everywhere. And then Sales Dash CRM, Freight-Centric CRM. It's built out for brokers. Josh Laus did a great job. Black Box is a proud user of it. We love it. And then we've got our banner sponsor, 2 Dogs, 1 Pod, brought to you by Taps.
Yeah, Taps will be fun. They're sponsoring the Broker Carrier Summit. I mean, they're all over. I was just talking to someone else just the other day about, there's a top 10 factoring company, great rates, great people. They're all over the place. So yeah, definitely if you're looking to factor, hit them up.
Awesome. Well, that'll do it. We'll be back at it next week.
Sounds like a plan. I'll see you next week, and I'll see you in person in 5 or 6 weeks too. I'll see that new office.
Yeah, hopefully, if we ever get in there. Hopefully, I just kidding. We'll be in. All right. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.